All right, here's another resume review for this time for Joshua. He emailed it, said I could review it and post for him. So looks like, right off the bat, good big title of your name. That's the first thing I see, and that's what I always want to see. I see, a website, which is good, filtered out phone number and email. I like to see location, even for remote roles. I want to know what time zone you're in, so include that at the top if you can. I also love that this is a one-page resume. Those are the easiest to scan through. I can go through a lot of these a day and just pick out highlights, and it tells me also you spent a little time curating what you want to say. So I'm hoping the information in here is relevant. I haven't read any of it yet, so I'm just doing this as I go. Let's see. Summary: software engineer with 3 years industry experience building web applications. Cool. I want to see that number right at the top. It tells me what level you're at immediately. It tells me where you probably have some experience, technologies you might have experience with. Those are all good things to know just as I'm reading through this. A highly vast, I think this is just language formatting in the use of React.js and creating seamless functional user interface, scalable and reusable for both smaller and larger projects. So it's good to see, React usage at the top. You're calling out a couple, some things you do. This doesn't really tell me if you want to keep doing UI or you're looking to do UX. You say you're front end, but also you have experience with web applications. So there's a little bit of, I know front end does more than just the development part of it, but I am just curious, like, what's the focus? What's the thing you want to do? Make sure you call that out, and you don't need to make this as big necessarily, or even just, if this is the same paragraph, you could combine those sentences to make it without the line break. I've worked with multiple brands across different fields, e-commerce, fintech, and one of my current products has over 500 users monthly. That's cool. I love seeing that stat there. I'm assuming this is part of this, business contract, not like a side project or something like that. But I love seeing those stats here called out in the top. You have 3 years experience, you're doing React, 500 users a month. That gives me a whole bunch of information that other people leave out, and that's important that you have it there. Technical skill set. You're repeating yourself here a little bit. I don't want to read the same thing twice. I'm assuming if you're a front-end developer, Git. Some of this might be, Bootstrap, Node, JavaScript, like that tells me a little bit. Like if you're doing Node, like are you still just doing front end, Node.js specifically? So like I don't know. I'd like to see some of these technologies, this skill set, like just called out down here in work experience. You don't have to list all of these out of context. Tell me when you use them. Tell me how large the project was, that sort of stuff. What did you succeed with when you used Adobe Photoshop? Some of that stuff I can just kind of assume you might know, like Figma, Photoshop, Git, CSS3. Like, as a front-end developer, I'm going to assume you know some of that stuff off the bat. So you've been here for a couple years, front-end developer, work with a team of engineers designing Institute web platform using React and SAS for maintainability. I don't know why this one's italicized. That just looks weird. It looks like it might just be formatting differences. And again, like down here, you're repeating a bunch of stuff that you had up here that you've also already said throughout this part. Like, don't repeat this stuff. It's fine to include it once. If you're looking for like a buzzword bingo sort of thing, always try to include it here in the work experience, not a list of words. Give me that context on what you're doing. Handle all composition, color, illustration, typography, branding. That's a ton of stuff to do for one person. Turning project on edge 5% faster than targets. Cool. If you're doing consulting, like maybe don't call that out. People will expect it if you actually put it on your resume. People are like, "Oh, you're faster than someone else. If I give you 5 days, you're going to do it in 4." No, I say it wouldn't be the right math. If I give you 20 days, you're going to do it in 19. Maybe don't if you don't want to. But like if you want to call out for like you're looking for a job. Turned in projects also doesn't mean they're accurate, doesn't mean that there was no revisions, doesn't mean a lot of things. So be careful with some of that. I like that it's a stat. I like that there's a metric there, but just be careful on something like that specifically. You may also want to say, were you doing this by yourself? Was this a team? I don't know. That seems like a lot of work for one person. Design interface, OCR portal. Figma designs using React style components and React Bootstrap. Again, cool that you did some of this. Give me some scope on this. This is a OCI portal. So how many users did this have? How often was it used? Is this like people used it once a week? Is this people used it once a month? Is this people looked at it every day, all day? I want to know some of those, metrics there on just like, what are you looking for and what have you done? Optimize user interface, ease the registration of students, which led to an increased number of students. 200 registers in the first 3 months. Cool. You didn't tell me how much that increased it though. You told me that's a flat number. 200 plus registered? Is that you gained 200 registered? What percentage is that? Was this 2,000 and you added 200, so you gained 10%? I want to know that number more than a straight flat number. And it's okay if the percents are small. I want to know these. I just want to know some of the metrics just to know the scale. Freelancing, this most recent project. She started design launch. Okay, so here's the 500 users monthly. Design using Figma. Again, some of the stuff you've already talked about. I don't remember seeing Axios before. Figma you've mentioned before. But I don't see, oh, here it is. So again, like you don't need to include it here if it's already there. I don't see any metrics except for the 500 users. I don't see any additional things. Like these are just tasks that you did. These are tools you used. Some of those are okay to include, but I want to know more information about, how many teams did you work with? Gives me some idea on like your communication skills, other things that you've been doing in the space. If you have also, I haven't looked at your website, but if you have a GitHub, if you have something else that like shows some of your code or even projects you've contributed to, those are good things to include because that'll help me just like jump in and say like, oh, how active are you in this community? How much do you know? Are you using like an old version of React? All those things are helpful for me to understand. It's just to know when I'm looking at your resume, like what is it that you're actually trying to do? What are your skill sets? And then what scale and scope are you working in? So hope it helps.